We are doing a Sackcloth scenarios. And I'll be Larry Kramer'ing it. Nope. Nope. There we go.
Sackcloth and Ashes, Pride and Fall Edition. Wield great enmity towards your fellow people and ascribe it to God, because the rage did indeed dissociate you from the words you've been dying to say for years. Alienate everyone around you with some spot-breaking prophecy, historical deviation, and hot takes influenced by some lord or another. To everything, there is a season, so turn, baby, turn. Nothing new under the sun, so blot it out with your words and find the folly in everything. Not worthy for this calling. Shake the dust from out your device and practice your words on the wall in the innovative tutorial dimension. Acquire ever more absurd imageries and be not afraid for new skills. Sackcloth and Ashes, sponsored by Cannabis, Fermented Sponge Night, Respite Juice, and Asherah, who gets us into trouble every other generation. Choose your name, Larry Kramer. Which god will you be committing yourself to this session? The fucking common sense of what remains of our queer communities. You think that's good? How about their higher selves? No, wait, scratch that. Common sense it is. Larry Kramer has been given a night at the upper room of the duplex bar in Manhattan. Oh, we gonna get a stool for me, or something? I'm post-dead, but I still gotta avoid edemas. Thank you. Water? Oh, it's here. How is everybody doing tonight? Okay, fresh crowd. You're in for a treat. So how's COVID doing? Does it still make the rounds these days? I'm hearing that. If the body were a city, that COVID would be a disease of the concrete of that city. You know how much concrete is in this place? There's the roads and buildings, but where else? Places you don't even think of. Getting ravaged by COVID. Long COVID, new COVID, the full collection of COVID. Met Gala COVID, you're always going to find deals for COVID at Century 21. I guarantee it. But I don't see a lot of masks out there in the audience. Well, thank you for your mindful unboxing of each other's mouth breasts that it. We could see them spread with the fluorescent coloration. It'd be like a UV light shining on any bed at the center. No one visits the center. Oh, this guy gets it. I think being dead for a bit has taught me how to work a crowd. I don't remember doing this before. You know who I am? Never mind, we'll get to it later. So about all those non-Western Europeans of our complex, suffering, but untouchable people who got dragged from their homes and nations into the maw of the East. Everyone talking about a multiculturalism that includes their family. So what's the big deal? You know. But ask any real liberals where they were at that point. What are you hearing? Most of them say their community's hurting in one way or another from being trapped on the west side of the freeway, while people keep their luxury cars full and rich. Just talking to regular folks, in the absence of people from their own nation, or complex, or even common denominator is still not welcome. I can tell you there are other two rules to dealing with other cultures. And here's the one that got lost. On the one hand, you see it done over and over again, as much as there were protests around the world against what happened to the hostages. Protests with, I hate to be the guy, but I can't seem to stop saying the word. Queers, you can't mention the hostages because how do we deal with it? This is, you gotta choose something and commit to it and protect it. You see, this sort of thing where the usual folks from your community just happen to have, I gotta stop myself. How you avoid taking in some folks and coming out not quite so in tune with each other, especially as your own group becomes ever more self-defined. I tell you what, some folks with some nationality issues coming back west where they expect a sort of lip service or fractions, or in full contempt of who they really are, isolation or lashings, will have to wait and see, as of me anyway. The lesson you can take from what was learned from this is if you've been conditioned by media from infanthood on how you think of the hostages. They may be stuck over there, but now we have some fucking zombies loose that have to be rounded up, right? Like my mother. Can I get a woo here? Okay, let's move on. So, anything new about Ed Bach? Anyone know who he is? Oh boy, well, Ed Bach has this very lucrative side podcast talking to parents, doctors, lawyers, anyone in any field as they wish. Does his guest star rates pay for a whole lot of snacks? Or should you buy off his auction website? Tempted, folks, tempted. The lesson there is he gets to write down that stuff that he has seen through all the data on all these different people from every point of view, from one of a citizen with one of a guest from any corner of this world or on some distant planet.
Testing. It's news knowledge.
No, wait, my mind is a bit jumbled. Ed Buck was that guy from West Hollywood, a middling DNC donor who got caught running over some gays with an RV. What you've got to know is, one thing this experience has made me realize, when you talk about what a cross-section of life in this world, you don't even come close to that by throwing money at what's been happening. Or should we say what is not happening with it? See, when I think about my time back before I became post-ed, and as you well know this, what a curse that is. One of the biggest complaints was about the ACA coverage that some people were afraid of. You know, pre-existing conditions. Nope, couldn't happen. What were your most unusual crises back there? Have to start off with one that isn't really too relevant. It was like some dude fell down off some building and killed himself in an air conditioner shop where some janitor had to screw up puke from some shoes that I can't find now. Oh, what would I give to get back to the past, where that wasn't always some question that always needs answering. Not the freewheeling past of those pre-condom times. It wasn't all that freewheeling. There was a lot of procedures and appraisals. Always looking at things and putting them under the light. Once the gay sapphires, so everyone with blue eyes are all out. Didn't understand it till it was going on. Worse when it happened than it would have been if it were all over then. But sometimes it happens and the shoe falls and you never stop putting the thing under the light to get answers for all those times it fell over and your loved ones were unable to share their own feelings with you. Your unthinkable, unfathomable pain will lead you to that door you weren't looking to answer that day you saw it like that in the community center or got trapped by one of those buildings during an earthquake or something. I hate to see it. So when something falls over and doesn't get put right away under that light, there's not a person who doesn't feel the first thing is, I need to make amends for leaving it behind. So, you in the audience, how are you at conflict lately? You fight, but make amends? Do you let the sun go down on your anger? Because that's where I always begin. Whoever else was hurt when some freak comes out and when there are freakish fires on the road where you come to play every Friday. Was that just to prove to them how stupid they are and that they ought to be ashamed that they never once in the history of their stupid families not had sex with every... Sorry, folks, had to dig into the cat's ghetto bed that my dead friend Roger owns. Know-it-alls in the audience. Know where your family started out. Never gonna hear a word from me again as long as I can help it. But maybe that was your time to set aside for once all this hustle and bustle of getting whatever you're working hard on in this time to accomplish. When you do set the thing down, you see that person that you are just dealing with, but you know you both care. Been on some tours of hell over these years? Okay, think I know who to ask this. Do I get any responses? What happened in the 60s? My oh my. Now in the 70s, the thing I regretted the most was there was no place in all of that mess, and it's coming to an end or past us, or a new beginning, if you can say. As they used to say back in my day, all bets are off. You thought I got some momentum? Bitch, please. I am Larry Kramer at full steam. Dun dun dum dum. It's 6:00 a.m. It was a guy from the 50s. The way I was reading the early chapters, all these words they had now. I didn't get this business back then, and I do now. You see a book with a title. You don't call it da-dum. You see it as one word. One word. Then it's like no one was smart enough back then, and all those men would need to have a good time was for some guy with a purple stickins up. Pink. Shoes to throw them a bone. If I met any guy who would describe that as the moment in time, it's the year of the avocado and some fad over the horizon making that huge home for these pale little demons to be growing on. We knew from then on, every night was going to be an orgy that the police could stop us on our way from the bottom to the top. Every time the guy went under the light was just to remind you about your part in getting up with everyone in that garden of the metro station of some damn ghost town that we called. Let's change that one too. What did that woman say to me? Didn't Miss Line become some famous couple? Well, maybe I can add. Don't all ask me to stop as you just met a friend of friends, all three together on one beach by one country, the parfumer you were going to call pale spas and assholes with long legs of your lady. That's the story, Larry. Oh, that line has to be the reason. It has to be true. How old was I then? Why does any of this even matter now? You were 7 and now you are sitting here 3 years later wondering what was real and what was the rest of what those dreams told you, and when did this become your own version of when the hot plate caught that poor house on fire? Well, I did see it when they found this one girl at that mansion place, but as to whether she was doing something naughty or having an episode or going over a cliff, from grief in her brain and turned up with the heart and the evidence of all sorts of foul play. Seems like such a big thing when it's what was going on back then. To tell you the truth, she'd say in the real were. The blood looks a lot like semen. It looked like a mess. All these folks in suits asking know everything about what she had to say about this world before that shit. Know that it's one hell of a show for these dicks at the fancy school or even a tough day at the black frat house that their own generation created. They may all say they are friends now. And in the Hall of Fame in 5 years of interviews about the foremost Chadmich and Fate Basekai so dumb fucking fast talk, someone says to me, what is that? Why would you come up with a name for an internal part of the male anatomy that no one has ever spoken about and has never used except to make fun of people with very large throats and lots of experience saying something without stopping to ask which parts of them would ever get fucked in that manner? Oh my. God, I thought this was written years before I was taken, and took my time in realizing who wrote this series. They were on drugs for what you were telling me that your cousin who never worked out the diva Evie for more than 5 years with these friends was asking. But how can we change all the hate of the last century in a day? Where was that guy with the cheap tricks and the chicken coops? Everyone talking about some coop building as the meat grinders were built over those tiny places. I liked how those stinks floated in the air after someone was missing. God, it smells worse when one of these swishbags is dead or gone missing or feud. Some girls made some deal to buy in the Zentrail when one of the slaves came with her girl at some hotel. Well, that was how the family Foxygrara moved their entire force on what we all agreed was not a Canurea from which every
I think we're entering the Bizarro Mirrorverse.
you, I was innocent until proven to the police. So for this last hour, what do you got for me? Anywhere from that fancy city in winter that was built by Fox, so unlike this place you live now. Hobo J. Homosexual. Sponsored by a friendly nation for gay men in 1990s, you say. Hustled Mexicanic and Gentry's loose. Owners of that ass. Jennifer at Aniston's GG Tantric Yoga Balls and high-powered ear attachment. Oh, sorry. I tend to get into a fugue state myself. It's the death thing. I'm tied to a creature that has a billion other voices. It's loud sometimes, but they carry on and it's fun to be around them. Where was I? So you lovers, you treat each other well. We still got work to do. How's my modern voice sound? Like an old Jew that hates Christmas or an old Jew that can't find his tie in the morning. Now everyone in my hometown just be there from dawn to dusk. Oh, I always thought that sounded a little goyish, but whatever. Wait, I never did make you any pastries that last time we visited. Well, it is after 4 a.m., so fuck it. What will be, will be. No, it's all good. That's life, and you take care of your family. One family. Here's some apricot ham and tastin, an original recipe for you and yours. You should listen to mine. There's that time, maybe 5 a.m. Okay, do you have an album release party planned for me, or do you need to grab me when we know where to start this bit? You see, the road crew showed up with me out of town, and these lights aren't used on a truck that I didn't look inside, and now you don't even remember my real name. But for those of you that are tuning in for my wake, it's not that dum-dum. It is just creamer, with the 11 creamers before I was the current. I have a feeling there are quite a few of those past things here. Note from the writer they didn't clear the cabs and trailers, but maybe only did the spot slash reflection slash over the side of a wall bit. And if there isn't any more question than one from me, and not many more besides what you did know you shouldn't try to see in the first place, and those 4 women and those 25 kids from your gymnast. M's. Hell yeah, it was all pretty typical of you before you died, and all our living rooms were just sat by someone of your kind on the stoop across the street from some theater and bitched about life, death, and politics with whatever damn canoes or Senate rats happened to be at your tail at the time. So are we supposed to remember everything you wanted us to remember, or learn how to sing all the words to the songs you recorded back when you were in ninth grade when they still knew what a queen was and the shit about the this and that? Some old college friend came in from upstate, one who knows his way around the violin. Man, oh man, that was fun that day. God, fuck, no more words. And when my liver says get out of there, I don't listen. If my liver says leave that whole goddamn party right behind to walk up these streets to that beautiful brick home back in 5th District of my people, who you would not trust with your family's secrets for shit or vacuuming. In my day and half of having gotten this out of me and these damn scenes on these damn new 8chat social platforms with only you dead ones understanding it, all your hearts will get hard. Yeah, I know who wants a voice that yells that loud through some dusty earbuds. It's bad enough when a good number of you fools have already said what the fuck ever that's so beyond helping. All I really wanted was to spend an hour with you in what a gorgeous house at the end of the street. Well, now that we had done all these words and promises on the internet, my friends say there isn't too many more in the library and the stars are not ready to say shit either way. I want you all to know, no matter how it might seem, here it is a letter to any that get to stay a bit longer and turn right into your dream one day, or your memories will ever be one of those living room tables that cousins come round with an evening at home with family. For them, and them, that are either alive or dead, let it all wash over. Well, they might complain when their screens get blocked, but my uncle didn't raise an army and we made our damn love when no one was watching. Even I may have a problem with these tales going out, but no one has time to plan their days. All these things you ain't heard of before are gonna find. Hey, it was time for something new for us, and you could tell at that point even the public's at the edge were excited too, and there wasn't anything I could do with your turn of a century, or maybe it's after, or maybe even it's still next or next is the second this year after the new, or even just second one and another before it goes up past that second tier in your era. Someone up there might have tried to use someone's dirt with some promises in their ears, or better, a four and one trying to steal another of these divine worms, while there are just some things a voice that tells the stories is gonna know and understand. So for the ones of you who stayed just a tad too long, for my latest article here with your invite, go see about all those tears for yourself and the putting around these pages that just ain't doing what they can for us all. How much easier it was back then. No need for all this background shit. Now it's all around and no one even knows how it started, but in the middle of that photo session we see a child wearing one of these protective head covers from another or in place for our selfies, the daddy's pick. Maybe we should add in there too much and life ain't gonna happen without your fucking clean bill of health. And I had a conversation with the neighbor, there were no bad blood between. Maybe because they never treated us all as what they are all hiding in fear and envy and lust. Folks out on the street used to just pop in like there wasn't even a gate and pull right out back without any doorbell and almost a big old no for trespassing sign next to that small fire pit just looking for any kind of friends. And I was a little young, as any that could get through the front gate were greeted with love from a Jewish family that took one of our own for God knows why. Not quite in those terms, but they're kind of usually what they give, and I gave myself up to it in order to remember being in some of your lives at times and all your might. Oh, there I was thinking. They did keep that street the same when everyone who was no longer a young mind left or was still young themselves at 70, some decades now, but they looked into themselves, and you must not understand. There was still a level of homespun mother to my last dying moment, and that would never change and would be back from my veil when you found out and saw your family come through all this scream and steel. Any more of all this static noise that maybe all of our kind just reached around all our closets were behind our armchairs. Let's remember your last letter of the first volume in some type of Nostradamus or Leopold Van Loo, some holy sage, like where you are living out your old stories over and over again in each of the exorcists, cast for each and every person whose time comes. The talk shows don't know shit about this. None of you knew at the time you were swept into them. See if the key or keys get you out of it. My boy the leopard man, I must admit it, at the finisher, and the end of me. Well, there you were in a void again where we couldn't see each other at all. Oh, look who the cat dragged in. Ed Cock just entered the building. What's happening up on stage there? Men, don't worry about anything, men. This is where we go and remember and learn some part of you all coming down over my heart for that which was cursed and condemned long before all of us, from before birth, long before you ever understood, and beyond reason and loss of control from anyone and everything. Know the words. O Jejarni to Ekshabal of Akiof, you will feel me. All will become right. Or in Hebrew, my spirit, humbly submit to your guidance and will trust that. All that will ever matter is forgiven. My belief is in the works of God. I stand humbly to do your will in all of this. God takti einen shigashatil misificus my you are be. All I see do not speak before the beauty of your face. May I feel peace. Amen. Note from the writer. From this point the table is pulled. Note from the writer. This is where I lunged at cock. He wrote to me one night saying it was possible. So many of us came so far out of the fringe in such an unexpected direction. A venue I could use. I realized that while there's so much blood and chaos all over the world in some unimaginable direction, I knew you were interested in just enough that you would finally hear my message. He said he had some body of work out there ready, in hopes I might follow. He wasn't telling me he wanted anything for himself, but it was becoming obvious by then there was nothing I could give to his daughter or his wife, and as there was this drum on the streets, it would turn out the lights, put those neck pillows under her and leave. So maybe we both made these appointments just so she wouldn't look and didn't care in the first place. Were you gonna find a situation where you will end up for those last days, dying as much in a town you would never think that someone would plan for a vigil around one's passing? She asked to come with them in the end, and they all headed back there, finally out of my eyesight for those final 2 blocks. So we should keep talking here. All this energy they would have should be utilized. Okay, sure. My birthday is around that time, but how are we to know any of us was ever going to make it this far out this way in these bodies of ours? Surely without some help. That you wanted some type of out, I thought of some good medicine, and the drugs only gave my eyes a type of epilepsy that looked like my arm would cut it out and thrust it on stage. And once we heard what they say, that is, you want to make of all this another business opportunity, show your fucking gratitude to me as you came through every possible level. We wouldn't be having these scenes and things all these weeks and years after any other common sense solution could have fixed, could have tried anything in order to help that babe back into a proper child person at an earlier time to appease my mom. Your new plans always kept that opening in between until she became too heavy to pull and see, and on any set schedule on her days, and you might see those husbands in the church, and I have just enough belief in humanity to go ahead and turn off this communication forever, as all of them will be huddled together in prayer about everything under the sun while this clock here. No, wait, I could change all the time so many have suggested, or ask all these different gods out there with your 23 plus flavors of synthetic fuck. Like we ever took you out in public here, so now I get this interview out here is even worse. But since when did I need an audience at this point? And why all this face to face? I thought we had built some sense of family over all this time. Community. What does it feel like? Because it felt like there was always someone looking out the windows for more light over your gate. Nope. Wait a second. It wasn't always bad. So was I bad too, or good, or both at all different points along this way? Were my great ideas so awful and ineffective in order to improve and heal things from the ground up? You could have stopped them there with any of my ways, but just said no thank you as you dug into how great you all were while they all had these increasingly detailed concerns about your neighborhood. Am I here at the last show here? Okay, we should hang in the front bar of your father's. We gotta figure out some things before any of our troubles have begun or end. I did feel a need for something deeper between us. Look, Counterkit is back. You're out the stage. Our pagers aren't ringing because everything we once could say and do we were too fucked up for at times. But all those talks around the kitchen table when there was no need to lock the gate at your home in your old world about just how different the 2017s would have been in some way or form. Were we a little bit in denial of it all back there when there was one way to take back something close to what it all should be, in each way in place with the biggest sums of our shared energies at those parties? Okay, sure, I think we will find a way. Of all things, something of myself still stands in my middle school gym at recess from playing those silly little games on a floor of purple light. Then something would snap out, and I was the something moving much further.
Hmm?
Off across this great divide as my group was cursed in different ways of one curse. What kind of curse? Does he just mean those soul-sucking beings like a black magic vampire curse? Was there ever someone that held me down as some part of my soul left my body without my knowledge? And if I didn't see them, know of their presence at that point, would they exist in all my spheres? And how about now? What, now? You sure we aren't getting paid? You submit your activity with the Sackcloth and Ash's Assassin. Here is what you have earned in XP, gold items, and skill points. Drugs boost stat growth temporarily by spending money on time on them in your bunker at night. Plus 10 XP per point. $5 $3 $3 Equipment each suit will only increase its cost the higher a class it is above. Current for level 2 a boot. Plus 5. 000. Meals, all meals are halved upon returning. Plus $9,450. Funds one main purpose spent on upkeep in order to grow. More equipment. As I came back to these accounts, I thought it best to place as many different tips as possible all throughout these articles to see what they mean for this young man, so as he had enough time to see what the ramifications were when all this first started happening to me so many years ago, as my skin is so very thin these days in my spot behind the curtain, so see these scripts at a distance. If any of them start to help us get in touch again, even when that won't seem likely. Food and beverage. You might even say food and drink has become your life for quite a bit now, and has even caused some inexperienced assassins to prematurely blow out their olfactory organ without the benefits you get with those antioxidants. You'll also find it helpful in locating your prey in crowded and high-traffic areas and urban locales, and even sometimes in places to approach said individuals should any become obstinate. But then again, it all comes back to the scene where your coworkers let you have more food and some nice salad than all the tofu you stock on any given weekday with no need of calories in those locations. They're anything but busy. Why is it now with this benefit to your shopping there? Don't know, probably didn't happen. Did it? Well, it feels like a change has happened there and that you really need to be an excellent communicator to have anything done by anyone for anything. What a sweet dish at your wedding you would like to try as much as anything on you. So look at that now. If only someone who let you on their tab at any nice dinner place around town for the sake of friendship or personal relationships through their nice coworkers were still a regular customer, as is. They still gave you this little juice card with this type of smoothie, but so much better now because they noticed your empty and dead eyes that would actually want to live. Nowadays, if that means going out of your way or asking your elders that one thing from a customer when you're down on the ground. The special code from another time, or one from before your time, just like if there are these ingredients with that specific buzz and these ratios on there so as you can somehow bring a thing of the past for even one meal. sword. Every experienced and intelligent member of the gang now and forever have told you to build up an arsenal of things so you can accessorize them however you wish. Yes, they can do different things from ones you can cook, learn magic from, or whatever. If they have a useful niche so you can customize them. It's stuff to see what kind of treasures they unlock with various bonus skills with certain success rate. Perhaps you may find they could do magic without spending 12 hours on a moonlit beach with some bandages, but mostly this is a utility thing. But where in a modern city the very ground would signed copy of your book, Faggots. Some of the worst pervs ever out in this world have actually used the scopes from their guns and thrown down a few shots towards the roads in the parking lot as they let rip out those damned machine guns into all those TVs blaring and crap all over my original ex-creature. No matter if there is this rain falling through these back windows onto my great lawn that now takes up most of the ground outside to the buildings for my soldiers. Sure, it can make this place very dim so everyone turns the TVs all on the way that they used to. Do or ask to, even those around the corner might notice from outside. How convenient, how all of your enemies must share at the end. What is more, I got all them key cards too. Okay, so maybe a few other gang members actually gave these away. What can you say when your comrade who could help you in dire times brings out just enough so you can set off into their hand at those great hallways just off to the side of some main room to the estate with more great armies and traders coming from each window just so you can buy yourself enough time and cash so you can at least help with one or two things on these dark days where they look up and you go out into their headsets in your wildest of fantasies just so you can make up a way to go out there and stick it to some asshole as well. If your morals could still let you off the couch with everyone around you every morning before going into work like this week when the babies started turning gray or your child the dog went down as his very bones grew red like someone just raised up with something odd about their touch around this time and season and he ended up running across some weird plague. You aren't talking about too. How he would moan about a place, and no one would want to hear what he said due to his recent change that so many took to cover for your new size, but still got under the same trees and through the same grounds and over some caved-in building of a previous world you lived in as their crazy man ran from one hole into the next where they would need to rescue your beloved god who no one wants to care about by the looks on your face as if you had learned it too late just from an image off a movie where you had gotten such a perfect impression of not remembering its exact circumstances at your leisure with their script. The powers that be may be waiting for some update from you after this moment as the guard got even older than anyone who ever knew him could imagine while out here. His perspective all changed once in those wet vines under the black and purple bush while their intelligence and all the shadows turned up yet again those scenes on some guy or girl in the plant right there looking more like some sick face or mask in one's passing way when all else would go black as everyone turned so weird or alarming in the story I didn't write to make out some account in some specific style about who cares. But all that sure went away in your passing by all your movements over these weeks when you were either waiting in your very own nightmare while falling down one dark path after another, while needing to breathe no less than others too, as this virus for some strange disease has almost set in from how fast everything turned into some muddy place at this point, and one so far off of our home truth in its direction that it almost let these smaller branches of theirs die and decide to hunt others of its own in hopes that they were out here. Or if it's some version of whatever thing you found it funny and amazing when this change first began years ago and got worse before your very own eyes. Okay, you see you just wrote all this crap again. At the very end, I am turning over in this old brain and before this event really starts. From what you're about to hear, there really aren't that many out there, from whatever causes and all these rumors out there. Are we supposed to start worrying now and sending off letters to your representative in any other place I never went there that they went out to give me the best regards of whatever lies and freedom on a deed to their former worlds for that special feeling to never again exist with those wonderful seeds? Also, some have speculated these would not come true unless there was a direct strike of the ground upon anyone in their youth or old age that they went away for but never had come back, so the stories never changed. No one believed their reports, so this type of freedom I once loved would come up over everyone in every situation where anything that even seemed familiar is brought up about some specific location from a day or event so far away like our most current players. Now going through such a long list of actors on some very high roof of that arena that let these scripts onto paper with enough fuel in our blood as any could at one point believe. Put their own personal truths about an ideal onto each level in whatever life in order to then begin writing of these songs so these documents will last for those onlookers not even from your time of working those stoves up back for more or less like some black stain where we go and learn. Study in its way without a place to hold us.
Okay, that's it. Don't know if that was actually Larry Kramer. Little bits and pieces.